I'm really quite interested in this new method that the government have signed up to, probably through a government agency like DEFRA, with Arla food products, Arla dairy products, that's also in partnership with basically nearly all the leading supermarket brands, where this additive is being added to cow feed to stop the production of methane to help to save the planet. I'm not sure about the testing on this stuff, so here's how I would try and get people to think for themselves. This is a post I've just put on Twitter. I'll read you the first part of it out. Follow the science. In the 1940s, the US followed the science by spraying people directly with DDT. See the photo below. To avoid polio. It didn't work. It was deemed safe and effective, but people faced cancers and neurological problems thereafter. In the 1950s, governments followed the science again after a drug called thalidomide was recommended safe and effective for morning sickness. They were wrong. Drug companies profiteered and thousands of children were born without joints and limbs. Many claims are still not settled some 60 years later, and in fact Spain continued the use of the drug into the 80s. The infected blood scandal in the UK in the 1970s and 80s. They thought it safe and effective to use imported blood from the US, but many of the donors wouldn't meet the criteria here in the UK. These were ex-cons, these were drug users and people from prison. They wouldn't have stood up to the scrutiny that we had in our National Blood Transfusion Service, but the NHS, I presume, bought the blood products in and started using them. This has resulted in thousands of deaths and long-term side effects. Now, the government set a fund up for this, over £1.34 billion for the people that's been affected with the blood scandal. But this is, as you can imagine, some 30 to 40 years later, and no claims have been settled, just like thalidomide. In 2020, they followed the science again and thought it a good idea to shut people away in their homes, limit exercise, stop treatment for all but one illness, and use a brand new style of medication. I'm not going to go on too much about what we obviously are very aware of because of the sensitivities of this platform. But again, the media was used to fan the flames of enthusiasm for joining in this rollout. And I'm sure you can see where I'm going with this. There's a pattern here. And this brings me on to the dairy products. Arla Dairy UK that supply the supermarkets, and many leading brand supermarkets, are basically guinea pigging a scheme, the consumer being the guinea pig, thought to produce less methane gas from cows to save the planet. Now, ironically, Bill Gates' private jet will have produced more harmful gases flying around the world, talking to governments into such similar schemes because of the potential side effects that we are unaware of, because this is a new scheme. So again, science is jumping in, and science is never settled. Science is all research, really, and we move along. For instance, there is a drug called amitriptyline that was designed as an antidepressant, but it was found to be a very good painkiller. So science, as it moved along, discovered a side effect to the drug that was actually a potential benefit. Now, I think what's happening possibly in the future, treatment will move away with this new regime in America with Donald Trump, but when he gets Robert Kennedy on board, will not be so big pharma driven, or profit driven, should I say. I think we're going to see a new era. But I think it's important in the UK to understand what's happening to your milk, because we haven't got a choice in this. And if all the main supermarkets are going to join in with it, we need to be able to source people who aren't joining in with the scheme. I don't want to be anybody's guinea pig. It's not necessarily that they're trying it out to see what effect it has on us. They're actually not bothered about the effect it has on us. And that's always the problem, isn't it? What they're bothered about is allegedly this science and I'll point out that Bill Gates is no more qualified than me or you to project these ideas onto people. He's just got a bank full of money that can afford to employ people to implement science that he believes in. It's very easy to believe one side of science if you ignore the other side, and that's what we've been subjected to over this past few years. So now, because it's developed a mistrust from people who are now thinking, whoa, just a minute, I believed you with this issue or that issue. People are now becoming much more aware and using social media and their computers to find out more about a situation before they get dragged into it. That's all I'm bothered about, is staying safe. I don't know what effect that would have on us in the food chain. There's a lot of research coming out. It's on Twitter, it's on Facebook. People who have found out that this particular chemical that they're using has side effects of things like impotence and sterilising people in large doses. So how do we know what the dose is? Because does that not depend on how much feed the cow actually eats? How can you monitor this? To me, this is still wide open, and for my liking, a personal thing, I don't think it should be released into the food chain, because that's what the cow is. It's part of the food chain. So dairy products will possibly be affected by this. I just think it's something we need to know and we need to look at. Personally, I haven't got a lot of time for Bill Gates, because I've not got a lot of time for anybody when I see their wealth grow in abundance when measures that they back have affected people in a very negative way. So that's all I'm going to say about him. I'm really glad to see you're enjoying my little shorts that I put up. I try to keep those humorous because it's entertaining the troops, isn't it? We've got to keep going during this awakening, let's call it, as we've got access to information and a facility to share it. Thank you, Elon Musk. Thank you, YouTube, because obviously we're able to discuss things on here. One or two sensitive issues, but there's a lot of stuff you can discuss, and it should be discussed. And again, use your trusted bloggers. Neil Oliver is excellent. Winston Marshall, very, very good. Good to see, by the way, that Reform won another by-election last night in the council elections, which is brilliant news, moving forward all the time. So we don't have to sit here like sitting ducks or even guinea pigs. We can fight back in our own way, and we don't have to. Please do not be talked into risking your job or your income to open your big fat mouth. I'm retired. It doesn't matter to me from my income point of view. And I've been doing this a long time with a shed load of really good contacts. So I can put my money where my mouth is, because I know I've got people like Dr. Asim Malhotra and other people politically in WhatsApp groups that I can rely on. So it's slightly different, and I don't think anybody, to me, your responsibility, your immediate responsibility is your household, your personal health and your household. You keep that going, you've just looked after a little nucleus of people, haven't you? And if you can talk to those people within that household and people come and visit it, your friends and your relatives and your neighbours, you are doing your bit, but nothing heavy. Don't go in with, oh, they're trying to poison us. We don't know that, and we don't want to suggest it. We want people to come to their own conclusions. That's important. We don't want to do what the government's done, which is plant information to have an effect. All we want, I'm sure anybody watching this, all we want is the truth. We want to be told the truth. We want a choice about whether we accept it and how we move forward. We don't want to be forced into taking medication at the thought of losing our jobs. That is not on. We don't want to be forced into any religion that, there's an MP in Parliament asking for blasphemy laws to come back. So I sent him a map of the route from the UK to Pakistan. I think he's in the wrong country if he wants blasphemy laws. What's that about? We haven't had them since 2005. Too many religions. We can't have that. So we get some batshit crazy ideas coming out of some of these politicians who are, to me, they're in Westminster for their own agenda. It still isn't my agenda. So your first responsibility is to get the best out of your day, look after your family, enjoy your food, enjoy your time, and enjoy your time with your relatives and family. And and your friends, your pets, your dogs. Do not be talked in to putting yourself at risk. Can I pay my bills? Can I move forward? That's your first responsibility. And the rest, leave it to other people. There's plenty of people out there speaking out. Me, Lilana, James Melville, Dr. Asim Malhotra, people with huge accounts, with millions of followers, Elon Musk, Robert Kennedy, Donald Trump. They're all there. They're all on the same side of the fence. So all you need to do is notice that there's been a shift. We've got some ground back. We're not going to let it go. They've jumped too early with the batshit crazy controls, and we're on to them.